Hello, hello, this is Nate Miller from DigiFX, and I'm back for more fun using After Effects and Unity today. I want to share with you guys this title sequence I'm making for Oasis Live, one of our apps, and today I was starting to show off some of the sequences and the ways to create a 3D sequence like this scene we have here. When I say sequence, I just mean building scenes that we're going to put into a timeline. But in front of me I have some 3D objects using Unity, taken from Unity, from the game itself, and then brought into After Effects with a sequence, an OBJ sequence that we've rendered out, and then now we're using Element 3D to do some fun animation and work within 3D within After Effects. So earlier today I actually run this lionfish here. And where I left off, I was working on just doing some render, creating some of the render aspects more clear and realistic. And so I got cut off earlier. I had to leave, so I figured I'd come back in. And so I wanted to, where I left off, we had successfully rendered and textured this lionfish here using the Element 3D plugin for After Effects. And we are using, diffuse, reflectivity, and then a normal map. So not that many texture maps, but with the ambient occlusion right here, you can see it actually does give it some layering, some depth to make it look pretty good. So I had some other stuff I wanted to bring in, some other fish in my project. And so I'll go through a couple more times of how we rendered out the OBJs quickly. So that we have all these and we can import them and we can create a scene hopefully by the end of this live stream here. So I got a snail here, and if I link over these, I can kind of figure out what I'm looking at here. So this is the four-eyed fish. We already have this in another scene. This is sunfish in the back right here. And these are just random fish I chose. I might this one should be probably bigger. I know this is an emperor angelfish, which usually get pretty big, so we'll probably scale that appropriately when we need to. And then I got a snail is gonna have walk on the sand depending on how realistic it looks. But I figured I'd have this lionfish swim in and maybe try to eat something. And we also have, and as you can see, the way I have it angled, he just comes in from this angle. And we can play around with that just by rotating the camera, and then our lionfish will move how it needs to. But like I said before, I want to make sure that we actually keep this pretty straight on, and then use the animation within the group here that I set up. So I'll do that again in another scene just in case I didn't get to share that with anybody. And then hopefully we can get this rolling here. So I need to find another fish to import, and we already imported this earlier also. I don't know if I actually showed anybody that, but let's create a folder here and just call this assets, just so I can start putting some stuff that I brought in already. And that's our main scene. This is no longer needed, so I can trash that. And I'll just change this to creatures is what it is right now, pretty much. Okay, so next on our list that we should find is this blue tang. Looks pretty cool down here. Maybe we'll bring in this blue tang. So the easiest way to find blue tangs, or the 3D model I need to use for exporting within Maya, and let me actually get Maya set up for us while we wait, is to just search for the item that we're using or we're looking for here, and then make sure you find looks like it needs a second. Make sure you find the original FBX. Okay, so we have this here, and I will just go ahead and make it full screen for us and make sure it's all set up the way it needs to be. We have our script in place, which is good, which I'll show you. We're using that before. And we can import our FBX when we save it out. So I have, I'm just freezing up this on me a little bit. Okay, so this is the original blue tang file. and you just know by it being an FBX, you can see right there. But also on the original model, you can see stuff, and usually I'll look at the animations and see what the different animations attached to it are. And you can see this fish has 3 here. It has a swim, an eat, and a fast swim. So, you know, you can obviously demo these animations within the game engine and see how they work. But we want to bring these into After Effects instead and put some lighting and some other cool stuff on them. And maybe some lens flares and add some effects, maybe some particles, some bubbles going up. All kinds of things to give it some depth. And you can see I'm working in just quarter res, full res, gives it a little clarity right there that we need. The only other thing I think we got to make sure, if we turn on adaptive resolution, that should actually make it a lot faster as well. I think if it's faster, adaptive. We'll stick to adaptive. I think that just knows how to choose for us. So we have our blue tang. Simplest thing to do is reveal that in its where it is in its path, and I actually have this popping up over here. So go ahead and make a new window for us so we can open that up. Okay, so we have our blue tang in our mesh group here, and so what I want to do is just copy that to my desktop here, and everything keeps on saving to the side, so it's going to be a little tricky bringing it over, and we don't need this as well, so let's clean those up. And okay, now so that actually can do that. Where'd you go? I lost my blue tang. There it is. Okay, so we have our FBX here as before. We copy it out. I'll go in here, and then I will go into my textures and do the same thing for this. I'll find the blue tang, and I'll copy out all the not meta ones, but the regular images here that we need. And depending on, okay, so we have a normal there. Sometimes the way it's organized this way, I miss them, so I have to go in this view. Okay, so we have 2 for the blue tang, it looks like. And sometimes you have to check because you may have specular or some other things that get included here. But it looks like we just have our 2 models or 2 layers for this one fish. I'll also save those out, and I will drag those over for us. And it looks like we have to convert one of them into a readable format for us here. And sorry, I'm just having issues dragging this over. Okay, so I'll just open this up in Photoshop real quick, and let's bring this in here, and we'll change that. This is my screenshot I was making for the video, which I have a funny face, and I will export that out as a PNG. You know, it kind of bugs me that that's JPEG and this is PNG, but I'll just leave them separate as is. Okay, so we don't necessarily need this anymore, so I can just trash that. And then in Maya here, we can file, import our tang that we had copied to the desktop here. So in my desktop, I have the blue tang FBX here. You can't see that, sorry. Okay, so we'll just import that. And the script, let's bring this down for now. All you need to do is copy this, and that should pull up the thing we need. No, I see it doesn't. So we have to source the script. And then here I'll just load this script up. And then try that one more time and see if that works. Yeah, so here we go. I was having issues with that, and I explained that in my earlier video that I had not sourced the script. It was just loaded, and I was having issues getting this window to pop up. But it seems to work now. Alright, so now that we have our blue tang in here, I will just select it, bring it out, and the only thing I have to really do in Maya is just check to make sure it has animation on it. And you can see if I were to hide this in this home layer, you would see that it has a rig that's making it move right there. So But pretty cool there. You know, I'm gonna probably, I should do a few fish at once. What I should do instead of one at a time, I should just bang some out and then bring them all in After Effects. But I'm trying to get build out a methodology or process, I should say, on how to do this and figure out the most efficient way so I can just eventually document it and share it for further stuff. Besides videos like this, so we'll just stick to one at a time, and then we'll walk through it. Maybe I'll find some improvements as we go. So now that we have our blue tang in place, we can just go ahead and export this right here. And I was thinking out loud. So I also mentioned before that we can either render out all the animations, the full 50, or we can just do separate animations and bring them separate. And I'm trying to think. I'm thinking to myself right now, is the advantage of bringing in and using Element to do our 3D stuff? Is there advantage to having the models in here on separate ones if you can just edit the frames here in separately on different groups? So I want to see something real quick. I want to see if I duplicate this model and then I bring this into its own group, right? So I'll bring this down to, oops, this needs to be all the way down to the bottom. Try to bring it outside of there. See if that works. No, still not going. So we want to go. There we go. Oh, what's going on? Okay, so I'll make this group 2. For some reason it was giving me trouble. Let's see if I can drag it down now. There we go. Okay, so in this one, let's just see what happens when I go 41 to... No, well, I forgot this is a different model. I was thinking the numbers for this fish, but actually for the lionfish, it's different. So I think it went to like 59, but I'll have to just guess that. Alright, so the reason why I'm doing this, if you're confused why I'm copying and changing the pixels, I'm just trying to pull the different animations from the model here. And so I know from 41 to 59, I think it was, that it was a bite animation, not a swim. So now that I created that separate group, I can separate them right here, and I'll just simply drag and... I was doing this last time too. Why, oh why were you doing that last time, buddy? Okay, so that's weird. Okay, so it does seem to be appearing where it needs to be. I'm just testing to see if both these lionfish are showing up. Yeah, so see, that one's not showing up for some reason. So what does that mean? You know what? I might have actually just drag it off to where it couldn't. Yeah, there we go. So it couldn't be seen. That's why. And the way it was angled. So that was a little confusing for us. So now I can just move this one in place. And what I want to do is I just want to see if this one does the bite instead of the swim. Yeah, and it does. Okay, so you can see now he's playing our bite animation, and I will just try to make room for 2 of these. Maybe I'll just put them in the back for now so we can test this out. And we'll just play them side by side real quick. Unfortunately, I just don't realize how fast this scrolls, and my computer's not as fast as it needs to be for this stuff. Okay. So now we should have 2 appear in a second. And it does look like, because I was playing with the camera, which I forgot I can't do that, I screwed up both of them being in view there. So if I play this though in the quarter res, we should have 1 swimming a route while 1 is biting in place, which it is. So good. So we duplicate a model, and then change the framework on the model itself that's attached to it, and then we're using element to actually separate it into models. So that's good to know. So with that being said, I don't think it makes much of a difference if we keep it or not within when we render it out in Maya, as in separating it. So I'll just do the whole 50 sequences for this fish, and then we can separate it afterwards. So that was kind of just a test for me to see if it would work the other way before deciding to keep this all together here. Okay, so all I have to do is say export sequence, and it should have, and sometimes it hides the window on my second screen here. Should have saved that out. Okay, so we have now successfully exported our blue tang. You can see we got some, so it worked there nicely. And I'll go to my screen here, and now I will, so we got a little keying issues there, I didn't notice that. Alright, so then I'll find my blue tang render here. Okay, and it is this folder. If I open that up, you can see this by kind. You can see we have all our rendered 3D objects here without textures, but ready to go. And so when you have a rendered image sequence, or just a rendered sequence in general, there's a lot of programs you can use to render, actually show the animation that you've rendered out. You can do it in Photoshop using a video, like timeline right here. You can use it in a lot of programs, 3D programs, obviously. And After Effects is really where you can maximize the potential with OBJ specifically. So now that I have that rendered out, and I know this is working, I'll just save this out, and we will just do what we usually do here, and I will just copy over this lionfish one so I don't have to redo the settings there. And there's not that many settings, to be honest, but it's just easier this way. Blue tang, I'll do that, and then I can go in here, and if you're going to separate them, the animations, you do want them to overlap because you're going to toggle different ones on and off. So you don't want them to be out of place. I was just testing that they both work here. And so they do, which is good. Again, if I go here and, well, I guess I'll go to the actual one that I need to. So I'm going to go back to the lionfish one right here. And again, move these guys along. I know it's a little blurry, but they are moving, which is cool. So I could animate them separately. And so what we would do is essentially draw a path, like using something like this, and then we can have him, we could have him swim on a path maybe, and then he'll go back there, and we'll scale him down and do stuff like that. And I'll do that in a little bit. I'm not going to get into the animation. We're just going to import some 3D models at this moment here. So blue tangs, and here, and again, just reusing this, I can get rid of group 2 for now, and we'll get rid of our lionfish, and file, import 3D sequence, not 3D object, because we have a sequence. And then here I'll look at my different list of things, and of course we have our not our butterfly, we want our blue tang OBJ sequence. First one, import, okay. Normalize size, model from the bottom. You can see that right there. Okay, and then we have our blue tang. And the magic about, I think the most magic you get from this is when you actually texture it. It really makes it feel more real. So I'll just rename this one blue tang. Okay, and I know you can't, for some reason that's that, and then now I can delete the unused one. And then here we will just import our blue tang's texture that we have. And it's the one that I changed into a PNG, or that. And the shine actually, the shine of the material or whatever they have set in here does make it look, fish scales are shiny. So in terms of using Oasis, or not Oasis, an Element 3D here, to texture stuff and all the element environment stuff put on it, actually looks pretty good on fish. There are some objects where it doesn't look good, and some where it really does. And these models, although they're only a few textures, they seem to, when you light them correctly, come to life. It's pretty fun. So we got our normal in there, and you can't really tell what that did. Again, I usually come in here in the environments, and I will see. I liked how warm that made the red there. Yeah, let's keep that one. That one's good. Great. So as you can see, it's that simple. Now we have this fish in front of us and so I will just center the fish, and I don't think there's animation on this, but there is. So I'll turn that off as well, and just make sure that he's just going to swim in place for us. Oh, we have to separate the animation. I forgot. Okay, so there's a few things I wanted to do that I didn't have set up appropriately. And one is, this plane shouldn't be in the same group as the model. It should, the model should affect the plane as it moves up and down in space. And right now the plane is gonna stay in the same area. So that definitely means a plane has to be in its own group. I don't know if it necessarily has to be. Okay, so this is where I get sometimes. Okay, I go to group 2 there. Go. Okay, so that's because group 2 has been, so we have to zero this out and stuff. We'll just bring that back to normal. So in this circumstance, I shouldn't have edited this group 2 yet. I kind of screwed it up, but I'm hoping I can fix it real quick. So I need to turn on the matte, or turn off, I should say, the matte shadow, so I know where it is in terms of where the plane is. And so let's see if we can find this matte shadow area. And I also screwed up by, if you use a camera, if you move the camera around, you can lose track of your elements. I just don't know if they're not showing up because I have the wrong one toggled or what that is. That's kind of weird. So that's 1, that's 2. That should work. Okay, this will be the fish. This will be the ground. I usually call this nav mesh in a 3D game engine because it's actually a little walk-on. Okay, so I'm not really sure where our fish went, but this is part of the problem when you import stuff in from somewhere else. So there's our fish. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm moving the camera, which means that the objects are staying where they need to stay. So once I get a camera and the plane in place, I can't move the camera anymore. I actually should lock it and stop it from moving. So because I'm just trying to think of what makes the most sense. I'm not seeing my plane here, which is kind of confusing me, because it should show up, should it not? Unless I don't have this enabled. That is enabled. Okay. Okay, that's enabled. It's you could literally replicate like 7 fish, and then you can separate them, right, like that. That's pretty cool. This is like something that's really oops, I didn't want to do that. That's by. Okay, and then I think, how do you spread them out? Yeah, it's a scatter amount, right? Huh. Let's go 100 by 100. Oh, that's too much. Let's go 20 by 20 by 20. Okay, and then there should be a way. Yeah, so there's a way to randomize it, maybe. Let's see what that does. Unfortunately, they all swim in the same place in the same direction. So I was hoping they would randomize it, like like fish swimming around. But I wouldn't necessarily say that's what I'm going to use, only because I'm not going to have schools of fish here. I think that's if you're using schools. And so let's go ahead and just not replicate that anymore. So what I do there, point, and we're just going to say 1. Okay, 1's enough for us. So what's bugging me here is that I don't want to move this. So what you would realistically do is you'd move this here. All right, so we got our tang in place. And so now we have to find the ground plane. And so just so I can figure this out, and maybe I can offset this after, is I'm going to bring this just back in here for a second. Or the ground, I'm just going to put it in group 1 again. Yeah, I don't know why it doesn't show you both of them, but we'll have to figure that out at some point. So what I'm doing is I'm just aligning this with the actual where the sand is. And I also need to just expand it more like that. Okay, so now that it covers this whole area, I don't want to touch the camera anymore. So I'll just lock that out. Let's lock all these out for now. I'm not going to be able to lock that out. I need to use that. So then now I go back in here and I can just toggle this back on. Right. So that's what I'm confused about, is that I guess there's something going on with the element to where there's 2 folders or 2 groups that are the same. It confuses it, or it reads. I don't know what's going on there. So I do want this to be in a separate group. So we know that, because that way we can see our fish. And I know I want this guy to be high here. I don't know. The shadow should be staying in the same place, or the ground floor we set. But I'm not seeing it appear, so I'm not sure why that is happening here. I know I keep on saying that. I'm just seeing if anything happens if I do this. Okay, so I can go down and I can move our fish around. Where is he? Does he give any shadows up here? Yeah, there we are. Okay, so you can see we see some shadows appearing on the ground level right there. You can see that happen. So it is working. It just, I guess this would be pretty close for it to really affect it. So what if I were to turn that up a little bit, just so we can get a feel for this? So that would be it's a matte shadow, right? And it's, see how it turns on and off right there? Okay. You only turn it down, which seems to be a normal thing to do. But what I do want to do is I do want to get this perfectly centered now that I know I can toggle that off. So let's go here and just make sure we fix that. I don't know if that ground plane is actually sitting correctly. Okay, so that probably looks a little bit better. That's probably why it wasn't working. It just wasn't lined up correctly. Because if I put this like that now, it doesn't look like he's right over it. And it still has a shadow, so that's better. So let's not mess with our camera anymore. So let's focus on just particle group 1 here. And so if I just get out of here, I can't really, all I can do is I have to be able to access this, so I could still mess this up, but now I can at least move the camera around. Unless I get into this mode, then I can still do that. So I just have to be careful I don't do that, is my whole point. So let's just make sure we're still streaming correctly. Okay, we're good. Okay, so we have our blue tang, which ironically it looks red here, in place. And so I want to stick now to animating only from group 1 for this guy. So I know I just want to get them in place in terms of where the sand is. And so I want to make sure that the ambient occlusion is working good, like I was shown before, and it does actually travel along the sand, which is cool. Okay, and if I get really close to the sand, it gets dark, and I get up, it goes away. So it's doing what we needed to do. The only thing I don't like is how grainy the shadow looks. It's better when you go into full, and I will say that this guy doesn't look nearly as good as the lionfish does, and that's just because the lionfish, I think, has more ambient occlusion coming off from all the stuff on it, versus this is a more simple render, so there's not a lot of shadow. So what we probably want to do for this is crank that up so it emphasizes it, and then to do that I can just go here, and let's see, I just want to see if I can actually make it look, I guess that's as intense as it goes. We probably don't want to do that. I say let's stick it at 25, and maybe the radius. Well, the radius, you can see, it's hard to see when it's pixelated when I'm editing it, but you definitely want to try ranges. You want to do extreme ranges all the way to the top, all the way to the bottom, and see how it's affecting it, see where the best range is. So it looks like it's actually, with the radius, only like one or two is the way to go here. And then if we mess with the distribution, we can see that obviously that's also should only be a low. So sometimes keeping them low will make them go away, sometimes keeping them high. It really is just with the default settings on the model, I think. Okay, now I know somewhere in here there's something that fixes the quality of that. I don't necessarily know what setting it is. I have to look at that, figure that out, but or search for that. But there's ways to, I'm sure, clean it up. But we're just worried about setting up our models for now, so I don't want to get too much into working on this, the look and the feel of it. I just want to get these things set up for now. So we'll go in here, and real quick I'll look at the blue tang, and I'll see in here, like I said before, the animation that we needed to look at for that. So the swim is going to be 1 through 20. So I can go back into here, I can choose our blue tang, and I can bring this down to 20 and just press OK. So now our fish here is just only going to make the swim animation. I'll play that, and it does. Okay, so he's swimming around. So I didn't do this last time with the lionfish. I said I was going to, so I'll do it this time. I'm going to create a motion path on this and see how that works. I'm not sure how it's going to work with the position, but it should work all the same because this is built into After Effects. There's a key that you can... Oops. So I already messed that up because I don't want to move the camera. It's just a habit for me to do that. I want to... What I'll do is I'll just set a key here, and then it will give me access to that here. Okay, so then element, I know where I should key from. So I'm not saying I'm going to keep those keys, but it's just going to allow me to pull it down here. So if we're using a path, we wouldn't use this key point here. We'd only use the rotate. And so what I'll do is I'll try a path first, and if that doesn't work, I'll just manually key it in. So to do that, you want to make sure that you're not selecting any layer, and you press the pen tool. It's important you don't have a layer selected. And then we'll just do a very simple, gradual route that this fish is going to swim. Now I want him to, or her, whatever kind of fish it is, to go in the back but then get really small. So we're also going to scale it down as it goes away, and then we're going to work on the just the scale and also the speed of it. So you can see that's kind of, so this is the path. And you can see it goes in, I'm guessing this is how you can change direction. That's something new. Reverse path direction off, reverse path direction on. So reverse means, you know, it goes in reverse, but we obviously, this is the first one, so that's the way it's going to start. The cool thing about these paths is that all they are shapes, we can tweak them and make them more round and smooth and that kind of stuff. So now, if I think I've got this, I think what I can do here is I think I can drag the position onto the path. Or there's a way, oh, you know what it is? I can copy the position value and I can paste it onto the path. I think that's how you do it. So here, if I just turn this off real quick, or I'll put this below our model so we see if we can see the model too. Oops. I'm running out of screen space. Okay, and I'll turn that back on. So now we can at least see our fish here. So I'm pretty sure I'll go to this and I'll copy. Maybe I'll just, I did this the other day and I forget how I did it. Here, and I'll go into our layer and I'll go into the path and I'll go into this and I'll paste it there. Oh, what did I do wrong? Oh, I did that backwards. So we want our, so with an object you would paste a whole object's position. And so it's making me think that if you paste this one, it will work on the path. Here. Let me see. It's not working either. It was very. Edit. Undo layer switch. Undo paste. I swear I thought it was. Oh, you know what? Maybe it's that to that. Yeah, okay, so that's what it is. So that's why I was just getting it backwards. But instead of pasting it to the element, let's try pasting it to the position in the element controller here. So I'm just copying the path value. That was the thing that was confusing me. And I'm pasting it to that. And it works all the same. Okay, so that's good to know. And the beauty about doing this is that we can control the speed of at which the fish is going to move along this path here. Now you can see that it is offset off the line, and that's just the way. I can change that pretty easily, I'm sure. It's either an anchor or an offset. I don't really know what's causing you to do that, but I do want to stretch this out, and I just want to see what the speed of this would be on the line, on the path here, because you want the swimming to match the motion in which he swims his tail. And I think what I can do to fix it from falling off, so here's when he goes up, I actually want it to rotate away and get smaller. And so what I'll do is I'll pick points that when we scale it down to certain places. And also probably have it swim slower as it's farther away. So there'll be some tweaking we'll have to do with the animation, but at least we have a path guiding us along the way. And I guess the reason why I like this, it gives me a constant speed over key points, which if you have it traveling at different speeds, depending on the length, this right here is measuring the speeds for the turns, right? The distance from point to point. Each one of these are points it's traveling to. So I'm guessing these small ones are these smaller points right here, so it knows the timing to point. So that's what it keeps the swimming consistent versus if you key it manually, it can go fast and slow and fast, and it just wouldn't look very good, look very mechanical and like computer generated. So we don't want that. And it looks like our anchor point, our offset right here, is the reason why that's doing that. So Let me think about where that would be. Sometimes it's confusing to know where that controller is coming from. But I think that is an anchor offset. So the anchor point right there, right? So that's what that is. I guess it's the way we would do it, because that keeps the fish in view, and then I can just put them right in the middle of the anchor point right there. I think that's the way we. I just don't want to. What that will do for us is it makes the field of view where the 3D object will appear. It moves it over, but as long as the fish stays in the middle, I think it's okay. I think we'd actually even mask this if we wanted to, and it would still work. Yeah, so we could even just mask the full element. Not that we would have any reason. It wouldn't really benefit us, except for the fact maybe you wouldn't touch it on the screen if you were doing other stuff within the composition here. So we fixed the kind of him being centered, and I'm noticing how it's just kind of sitting weird in terms of the rotation, and that's because, I wonder if that's because of this. And so this is where we won't key anything yet. We'll just get it in a good place right in the middle right here. And then once we have that, then we'll set offsets as we think it should turn. So I'll do a quick one. I want to get a few more models in this project, and I don't want to focus too much on the animation because I think that's just tweaking, and anybody can do that with enough time and effort making it look good. But I will get them looking flat for us here. And just, I can't use my control. I use for the camera for this, so it's throwing me off a little bit. Okay, so I think what we want to do is just do 2 here. Let's do like a 2 or 3 here. I want them to be swimming like that. Let's see what a 2 like that looks like. Okay, so that brings them that way. Oops, not there. So it's funny. That's what happens when you toggle off element. That's all it's just a plane moving around, but the plane turns into a really cool 3D object. So you can see how that works. And I think I can also continue to crop this nice and tight, as long as it's not cutting off our fish and it doesn't hurt anything. But again, there's no reason to really do this because it's not being affected here. So I'll give it some, I do want some cushion in case I have to turn it. Alright, so our fish now is swimming along this way. He's on his motion path. And you can see the path he's traveling, I think. Oh, no, all we did was we just borrowed those keys, so it wouldn't really matter if you saw it. I wonder if I can take that off there. I forget. You have to stop this from playing. Sometimes my After Effects just goes into like ignore me mode and it'll just render and I won't be able to stop it like now. So when this is actually done rendering, I can toggle off that fill. We can just see the line there. So this is a basic motion path. It's nothing too pretty, but it's a casual route we can do for this fish, and it does allow us to use math, not our eyes, to key out the motion, which is good. Okay, so we know that works here. It's still. Oh, you know why? It's because this was over here hiding. It always happens. So if I can go transparent here, how do I make it transparent? I'm not really sure how to make it transparent. Well, you could always just do, it's kind of funny doing this, but color key now. And you can key it out, but I just don't know why you wouldn't be able to do that. And I can just key this out, that should work fine. No, it doesn't know how to register it, so I wonder if I just go like that. Color tolerance. It's like kind of a getaway to do that. It's not how you should do it though. You can see it's still showing stuff, but the whole point is it's trying to get rid of that green for us. Yeah, so now the green's gone. And I just kind of eyed that. You would actually take the color of the green and fix it. But we'll do that, and now I can just, if I want to keep this path for reference, I can bring it down, and I'll just keep it under there. I'll lock it, and so now we know kind of the basic path they're following. You have to, and there's obviously a lot you can do with the path. You can do animations and do cool stuff if you were focusing the path, but for us, it's just a control for us, really. And we can continue tweaking that as we go, make it nice and round, and do all good stuff here. So one thing I know I do want to do is I just want to make sure that 10 seconds is good way to go. I'm going to just time this out to about 10 seconds. And I will say it's moving pretty fast for this slow movement right here. So it could definitely slow down the animation pretty easily in here. I just go down here, and then playback speed, let's bring it down to like 75. Press OK, and let's just see if that improves the pace at which the fish should be swimming. Looks like it's a little better, but sometimes it's hard to tell. But I do know that now we want to start messing with the turning points. So the best way I find animating perspective on a path like this when it's timed is working in 90-degree angles, or kind of like if it was a 2D image and you had to draw it in 3D. So what I'm getting at is you don't want to have to worry about when it's turning. You just want to put it where you know it's turned. And you want the animation, or you want the fish to do the turning in terms of the between the difference. So what I'm getting at is, I know that this is going to rotate our fish that way, right? We're going to basically choose our Y. So I can just do that, and I press U here, and that's going to give me a key point. I'll move it along our line here. I'm going to right about here. He's probably done turning, so then here I can go 90 degrees probably. If not negative 90, that's going to be, or I can go 270 or negative 90, it's all the same. Okay, and I do notice how he's now he's weirdly to the left, so we'll probably, I don't know, maybe we can mess with the anchor, or we can just tweak it as it goes there. But then I want to bring him up here, because I know he's not going to be there, and I'll just copy and paste that out a little bit, and we may have to tweak this. And then this is when he's going to be turned back around, so I can just copy paste that and just say -3, even though, oh wait, no, that would be right. It would be 270. No, it would be 360. No, it would be 180. I don't know why. It was because that 3 was throwing me off there. 180. Okay, so now we have our fish where it needs to be. And I don't know why this is at 3. I guess I put it there, right? 0 look like. Okay, so now that we have that quick turn, let's just see what it looks like when it does it, when it actually tweens it itself here. Oh, so you see what it did there? It went the long way, and that's if you put a negative positive on it. So it actually turned correctly on the way back, but it didn't turn on the way there. So it's an easy fix. Just here, there's this little loop-de-loop, which is kind of a funny thing. We'll just say we want it negative 270, and that should fix that, I think. And I'll go here and notice, oops, I want to go to the top one. I want to paste that. Wait, no, it's not right either. Okay, so because of I need to go negative 90. I don't want to go 270. That's the issue we're having here. So this should be actually negative 90, and that should also be negative 90. And that's just the way it's going to turn to that degree, which negative 90 is the same as 270, which is kind of confusing, but it should work now. So hopefully, yeah, so what that did for us there, though, is now this loop is messed up, but I believe this is fixed. So that goes there. I didn't really like how he turned into that turn, though. It was kind of like the way it turned in like that. It should really ease into it. And so maybe what we would do here is an easy ease in. Now I also have some other scripts I can use for this, some more advanced ones. I don't think they're installed here, but I can install them. I have Ease and Whiz, it's called. I'll show some people that. So hopefully, so funny, how does that loop? Hopefully that will fix that. Tweak that a little bit, and let's just. I think we can bring this to negative 180. That should fix it the way it turns, right? Okay. Okay, so we just want to make sure that. So like there. Okay, so this is obviously the rotational direction change, and that little whip there needs to probably be, you can tweak around with that, how you're going to tween them. You know, it really just depends on the speed and then how you do it. Maybe you would even just take this out altogether right here, and then over time he would just turn. That actually is more natural looking. I think the thing is, though, it's the way it whips it around. But that does actually work better. So sometimes less is more in that sense. But we also need to do is we need to make sure we key his nose, because his nose is staying the same horizontal projection throughout the swimming process. So this is when it should be flat. This is when it should be down, right? And we should do this very, very, very casually, because a big effect could actually make it look bad here. Right, so which one is it? It's that one. Okay, so this is where we want it to be keyed that way. And then once I key it once again, I can just press a U, and then the new keyed value, the X rotation, comes up. And so here I'm just going to very lightly, actually I might even just do it over here, just so it's bigger. I might just bring that up to 5. What's that do? No, we'll bring it up more. 7. Let's see if that has an effect. It does have a nice gradual change, but you can see the importance behind that little tweak. It just probably could even do it more, to be honest. Maybe like 12, if you really want to exaggerate the swimming. I just don't want it to be too much of a transition, because then it won't look good. All right, it's not bad. It's not bad for our first try to get our fish swimming. So you can see. Just with a little bit of tweaking with the path, and then also the particle replicators in Element, we can establish a really cool sequence of animations with these different models and bring them together. So I don't know how I'm going to bring everything together. I'm just mostly just playing around with stuff for right now. So thinking about different ways we can build animations and the actual storyline here. So I'll probably do some motion path stuff, and we'll probably be, set in place and actually keyed out and static. So I'm going to stop with this guy for right now. We're going to focus on something else. I want to render out this snail, because I really wanted to put some kind of thing at the base over here. So one of these, this lionfish would go swim up to it and then try to like take a bite out of its shell or something. I think it'd be cool to put into the video. So we'll probably work on this scene some more, because I also like the way this is getting rendered out. This looks a little bit more rubbery or plasticky or fake, but we can probably work on that as well too. So let's work on our snail right here. So to find our snail, I think I'll just look for literally Google, or not Google, I will search snail. I believe these are all the same one. This was fade out different places. That is an image. That's not it. That's not it. This is our snail FBX we want. It's actually this is the one we want right here. So it has a lot of moves. If you look, and we can. This is why using Unity, working backwards with this is actually helpful. So our idle, it just kind of hangs out. Our move, I guess he is moving. Well, it's moving. I wasn't sure if it was moving forward or that's just the it's just the motion of how a snail moves forward. I guess it just kind of sways. Let's see what the die looks like. So I think this all would play really well with our lionfish. Even though this is not an underwater snail, we could probably change the colorization of it to make it look more exotic or like a saltwater species. Alright, so this is where it's just idling within its shell. Okay, so we probably won't use this third one, but we may use the move and the die, maybe the idle here. So that's all important to us. So I will take this, reveal this in the folder. It should pop up for us. Bring it into the Maya section right here. I do like how it snaps in full screen like that when it's here. I just hate when I'm in another screen or another window and I want to drag into a full screen. It won't let me do that. It's the only thing that I don't like about the full screens, but I do like this snap effect because this makes it really easy to work side by side. So here, let's drag that in. And I mean, I technically could just use this same one here. I just I guess there's our snail. I can use the exact same project. I'm just using this to render out stuff. I'm pretty sure it'll work all the same. Yeah. It's just amazing how fast in Maya it feels like he's animating, but it's because this is frames that are not established in real time. Okay, so importantly, do that. Works. Okay, brown, what's this called? Snail. I was going to call it brown snail. Let's just call it snail. Okay, we got our snail in place, and our snail needs a place to do its business. So, oh, what did I do wrong there? I know what I did wrong there. I totally dragged it in from this project, which I shouldn't have done. So I'm not going to do that with the textures for sure, because we don't need this FBX, so I I got lucky there. So snail base, snail this, and snail. Looks like we have two snails here. Sometimes the list view is better because it will go by name and not type. So that was our snail FBX we stole. Okay, so I think with these two I'm good. So I will do as I did before, and I will just paste these to the desktop. I will select them and bring them over. I don't know what the light, I guess it's a different color. I thought that was, so it looks like you just have two colors going on here that you can choose from. So unfortunately no normal, so it probably won't be that high depth, but because this is a small thing, maybe we can get away with it. Right, and this is that, it's an issue I see. This thing pops up and stays here. It doesn't go away, but as long as it doesn't bug us, I think it's okay. It's just the export window. It doesn't want to leave. It stays there. Okay, so I'll save out my blue tang, go into my lionfish. Lionfish is 1 or 2? I think it's 1, right? I don't think that's capitalized either. Right? It's just like that. Yep, it's all 1. Okay, so We have our lionfish right here, so let's do exactly what we did. Let's try this again with a third group. And I will make a third group. I will drag this underneath here. I will call this could be our snail. Lionfish 1. Let's call it A. And we'll call this lionfish B. Okay. And okay, so we've been streaming for about an hour. So I will take a little break. I'm going to get this snail rendered out, and then I'll come back and do a final session tonight. So appreciate everybody for joining me and checking out what we're doing here. There's a lot of fun stuff going on with animation and game engines and 3D, and we're going to put this into VA and AR, so a lot of fun stuff to come in the upcoming months. So I wish everybody well, hope you stay safe, and thanks for joining in. This is Nate, DigiFX. See you later.